retired police commander Raul Correa from the Miami-Dade Schools Police Department, spent 30 years in law enforcement, and now he runs a newly formed company called Miami Tactical. We all talk about school shootings and how to prevent school shootings, but what we really haven't looked at is how Marjory Stoneman, the tragic incident, the killings at Marjory Stoneman High School, actually transformed the process of school policing. And here to talk to us today is Raul Correa. Again, spent 30 years with the school police. He worked throughout the entirety of the department, from school resource officer to patrol to station supervisor to station commander, all the way up to the public information officer for the school police system. Raul, welcome.
Thank you, Robert. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here. So let's talk about how school policing, school safety has changed over the years, if you will. You and I started same department, 1989 or 90? 90.
Pretty much 89, 90, yeah.
Let's talk about how things have changed and what is mandated now that it wasn't mandated prior to MSD.
A lot of things have changed. Honestly speaking, when we started, the whole notion of having a school resource officer in every school was it was a pipe dream. We went from a 30-man police department at one point in time to currently right now, I think the Miami-Dade Schools Police is over 450, maybe 470 officers. Based on the Marjory Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Act, there's a requirement to have a police officer, as you will know, or a school resource officer, or a school guardian on every public school, including charter schools. But the public school police department only deals with the actual public schools. So from when we started, a 30-man police department, to 450, 470 plus, a lot of people may not know the Miami-Dade School Police Department is the largest school police department in the nation.
Wow.
And that is actually the visionary thinking of past Superintendent Viciedo back in 92 or somewhat.
Octavio Viciedo, yes.
Yeah, that pushed that having an officer in every school type of thing, and the current superintendent, Alberto Carvalho, who's is always forward thinking, and taking that leap of faith and saying, hey, what's the best thing that we can do for our community? And I actually commend both of those superintendents, one 30 years ago and our current superintendent, both visionaries.
Yeah, let me jump in here because as a retired incident commander, right, that we both were,
right.
That's the commander of scenes that occur at the schools, chaotic scenes. I always get chills, or the hairs on the back of my neck really rise when I hear of mass casualty shootings, active shooters, and certainly in schools. And I'll never forget February 14th, 2018, when the news came out of the active shooter, Marjory Stoneman Douglas. I was standing on the floor of the Florida House of Representatives. We were debating bills, and this news came out. The sinking feeling of sickening coldness, chill came about me, man. A sense of being powerless to respond to the scene. How do you feel when you hear about these incidents, and how do you react to them now that you're retired?
Well, from a father's perspective, first and foremost, it breaks my heart, and my condolences go out to those that lost lives at Marjory Stoneman Douglas. So as a father, just to imagine the travesty of that day is horrible. But as a law enforcement officer, unfortunately, you become desensitized to what's going on. And every time I would hear something come out over the radio that involved some tragic incident at a school, it was here we go again type of thing. So on that particular day, I can tell you that I was still working at the time. We were ready to go up to Broward if needed to help out. But ultimately, the years have come by, and there's a new mindset, and it started with Senate Bill 7030, now it's
7026 to be exact,
and now it's 7040 now. So things change. My fear would be that, there's that very popular saying that says, as things change, they stay the same. So the more they change, the more they stay the same. So I'm, a man of faith. So I believe wholeheartedly that regardless of that law enforcement aspect of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Act, that the community itself would realize that law enforcement can't do everything. Our school districts can't do everything, so it has to be a collective effort, and that's part of my company's name, Miami Tactical. People think tactical, and we're out there to you be tough and military. That's the word tactical comes from the Greek, artfully arranged and planned. So we have to plan things out. We have to be ready to have a different mindset, a growth mindset.
So let me back up a little bit. So we both responded to a number of shootings.
Absolutely.
We both been shot at.
Correct.
Some of us have been involved in shootings. But nevertheless, you're out there long enough, you're going to be engaged in some type of catastrophic incident. Do you remember how it felt responding to the scene of a school or a building, right, where there's a lot of people gathered, highly populated building, where there's a report of an active shooter? Do you remember how you felt when you responded to those scenes and what your thought process was?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you right now, I have my phone here with some notes and whatnot. And the first thing that comes into your mind when you're responding to something like that is you revert back to your training. And, I helped start the Police Explorer program with Miami-Dade schools for, engaging the students. And I would, not my saying, popular saying, but I would always say, if you fail to plan, then plan to fail. So when I was getting ready to respond, when I would hear the call, when I would know there was an incident that we had to respond to, it was reverting back to that muscle memory, the training, and wondering the mental checklist. What do I need? What I need to do when I get here? What needs to be done? And there is a stress factor. I mean, I'm looking at you now, and I look at myself in the mirror, and we've changed quite a bit.
Yeah, we have.
And the years have been not so kind to some of us, but the stress factor.
Not me. I look great.
Yeah, the stress factor of the job is that behind. They say that police work is 99% boredom, 1% terror, and that 1% terror really can take its toll.
You remember how you felt when you were being shot at?
Ironically enough, I try to not think about those things. I don't even mention it in the family, but there are off-campus incidents not involving the school district, but you go to help your fellow law enforcement officers, and suddenly there's I don't know if it's a scientific term, but it's called the pucker effect. Yes, they they were moments that you don't forget.
Hey man, I remember one time when you were, let me see if I can remember this correctly, 46th Street, just east of Northwest 27th Avenue, wee hours of the morning. It was pretty much dead silent on the radio. We were working midnights. And I remember you coming on and the police radio, and announcing or advising the units that there was I think you had been told or informed of a subject walking down the street with guns. And next thing we heard on the radio shortly after you advising that you would be looking for the subject, that you were being shot at. Do you remember that incident?
Yeah. It was.
You laugh.
Yeah, I laugh because I remember some of my coworkers. Once I had, got on the air saying that I'd been shot at, saying that I sounded like a female on the radio because the tone of my voice changed a little bit. The bass dropped and the treble.
The pucker factor.
Yeah, the pucker factor. And it was basically a mentally ill individual that was walking down the street, and he was just randomly firing shots at folks. He saw me in the police car and decided I was a good target, and he fired a few rounds at me.
Yeah, and by the grace of God, you're here. Thank God. Thank God it wasn't your time.
Thank God.
And like that, you responded to a number of shootings where civilians, police officers and civilians have been shot at, right? Or shot.
Yes. As you will know, one thing that the law enforcement community here in South Florida can be proud of is that it's a tight-knit community, and we help each other. There are 30 plus agencies in Miami-Dade County. And I think we work well together. I know many a times some of the incidents that I was involved in were involving against off-campus officers from other agencies requesting assistance, and we would go and help. And they were quick to return the favor every time we were asking for help on campus to help with traffic or dismissal or some kind of unfortunate school incident that needed more manpower than what we had to offer at the time.
Yeah, and so certainly you have the experience from working in the streets, the training, right? You were also instrumental not just setting up the Police Explorer program for the Miami-Dade County Public Schools, but also in serving to train our officers, right? Both officers from the school district and officers from other agencies. Am I right?
Correct. I was involved with the administrative division, the training unit. I'm actually a ITW, an instructor with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. So I'm fully aware of what's going on when it comes to training. As part of what my company does as well, is we provide training for those that need it. But yes, I help train several officers in the agency. And again, like I said, I'm a police instructor.
And I apologize for grabbing my phone. They were telling me to look at my phone for a message. We have a guest that's waiting in the car. I believe it's storming outside. So our conversation continues, and I apologize.
No problem.
I wasn't.
No problem. If
I didn't want to
go
be
out there with an
discourteous.
umbrella, I can be tactical and bring her in. Yeah.
But the reason why I ask you about the training is because, you've helped train school police officers and non-school police officers that work in other agencies to deal with high stress situations, high impact situations, high liability situations inside schools. So, you're clearly an expert in this arena, which I ask you, are our children any safer today in the public schools than they were before Marjorie Stoneman Douglas?
I think they are. They get they get the best of what we have to offer as human beings, I would say. I know we try to hang our hats as law enforcement, whatever, and we try to pass the buck. Are the cops doing their job? Are the teachers doing their job? Is the community doing their job? But I think collectively we're all doing a better job. I helped train some of those security monitors in our schools. I think awareness has been something nice to see. There's an awareness factor that people are more concerned with and more in tune to when they see someone come on campus that may see a little suspicious, and a lot of the awareness that wasn't around prior to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas is there now. Unfortunate incident, and I try to see that silver lining and everything. It's unfortunate. Again, condolences to what happened, but we learn from our mistakes, and that's unfortunate. We should try to just, again, be forward thinking, but when we make mistakes, we tend to learn from them.
So the reason why I bring that up is because, like having responded to not just schools, but again, occupied buildings with high number of population in them, where you do not know who the subject is, right? You don't know who the civilians are, the non-combative people. It's really a difficult situation, right?
It is. It's a very difficult.
And often you're, going through the building, you're doing a sweep with the building, firearm in hand, at the ready to go for that split-second decision. So it really is important to make sure that the officers that respond to the schools, or the people who are armed in the schools protecting our children, are highly trained. Am I right?
Absolutely.
And that over the years has changed.
Correct.
And before MSD, even as we had Columbine and other Littleton school shooting in Littleton, we still had a mindset among civilians, administrators, and the public that school safety was somehow something less than patrolling the schools. Am I right?
Correct. And school safety is a constant changing thing. People see school safety. I remember back the patrol, the AAA patrol, and they thought I went to Morningside Elementary as a kid, and I can remember the safety patrol and whatnot.
Were you a safety patrol?
I was a safety patrol. I was a safety patrol. Yes.
So was I.
Yeah. So I think what happens is we security changes, safety changes. Prior to 9/11, we didn't have TSA. We have TSA now. So again, we live and learn. I told my daughters, that statement, "live and learn," usually means there was some kind of error in the equation, and that's why we're learning, because we made some sort of miscalculated act or whatever it may be. But the fact of the matter is, I think that yes, things have changed. We're doing better. Even for school districts that don't have a school police department and are not really engaging with their local sheriff's department or police, there is the Guardian program, and I know they get 144 hours of training in some diversity, human diversity, and other things. But
range time.
Yeah, and there's range time. So training is very important. Even
so let me stop you here for a second, because I think you just brought up a good point. Guardian program.
Right.
That's where an armed civilian is a staff member, would be armed and trained to be able to respond to an incident of an active shooter, right?
Correct.
Let's talk about that. Civilians with training versus police officers in the schools. Which one do you prefer?
Well, I'm a little biased, but I would always say I would take the police, the law enforcement, because of the training, which is what we were talking about. And from a police instructor standpoint, 144 hours of training that is provided in the Guardian program through the Senate bill versus the hundreds and hundreds of constant in-service hours that law enforcement is required to take. I mean, it's like, would you rather have a person make you a peanut butter jelly sandwich, which are great and I love, or 5-star restaurant and the best steakhouse in town? And I'm not trying to diminish the Guardian program. I'm just saying it's a whole different set of rules. It's a whole different set of training. It's just, totally different. But again, something is better than nothing. And if the mindset of whatever school district does not have them engage in their, with the law enforcement, community, then, the Guardian program is there. And again, something is better than nothing.
Sure. And here's what I'll tell you is, for those parents that drop off the kids at the schools that see the police officers, of course, Dade County is a little bit different, because it's not a nuance to have police cars in front of their schools, to have an officer stationed at the school. What is new is the mandate.
Correct.
For an officer to be in every school, in the schools. I mean, in the state of Florida. Now, I would recommend that the parents who have not spoken to those officers to get out of the car, or engage them if you can, because it's really important to know who these people are. I will tell you that law enforcement has taken a toll on my life and life of just about every officer that I've ever come across. It's cost us divorces, it's cost us, physical hardship, but it's a noble job, and it's a job that I would do it again any day of the week.
Oh, absolutely.
Raul, we segue into something else. We've lost good partners. We lost an officer, Samahano, was killed to gun violence. There is no shortage of senseless crimes. What we need is to have an educated public that is supportive of good funding for police officers, and that funding should include continuous training.
I agree.
For the parents that are out there listening to this, what advice would you give them that they should be engaged in when it comes to their school safety, and what should they know?
First and foremost, I think they should engage their school community, be involved in their PTA, PTO, some sort of community-based parent-teacher organization. Speak to their school's administration, and understand when they get to the school, and from our perspective, when they're pulling up to school, have that contingency in your mind. If something were to occur at my school, my kid's school, how would this happen, whatever, and have those thoughts, and question your staff at the school. Hey, tell the principal, hey, I saw an open gate on this side. If something were to occur, and ask questions, get involved, see things from a different perspective, not to be paranoid or anything like that, but be concerned. I mean, we're concerned with safety. As a parent, I'm concerned with my daughter's safety when they go out, and I ask, where are you going? Who are you going to be with? And whose car are you going to be in? And and what's going on. So ask questions, try to get the answers that you're trying to, the answers that you would want. I mean, and if they're not there, then ask why is that not the answer, So engagement, involvement, and participation is the most important thing that I would say to the community.
So in the last minute that we have here before we go off the air, if a parent wanted to get a hold of you and be able to ask for your guidance, your expertise, now that you're in the consulting side, where would you be able to get a hold of you?
They can go to my website, company website, miamitactical.com. And we're not a Fortune 500 company, but community based, and we're involved in many community programs. As a matter of fact, my email is raul@miamicop.com, and COP doesn't stand for cop; it stands for community. It's funny because it's a play on words, community outreach partnerships.
There you go.
And people say, "Hey, Miami Cop." Like, wait, it stands for community outreach partnerships. So it's a little play on words. So Miami Cop is my email, raul@miamicop.com, or they're going to visit the website, miamitactical.com.
So in closing, I'll repeat what I just said. It's very important that the community is supportive of our police officers. They go through a lot. They're public servants. Anyone in public service is out there serving, and it's very important that the community get to know them, be involved, and supportive. Right, hold them accountable, but be very supportive of what they do. It is a noble job. I would not have traded it for anything in the world. I think that law enforcement has been great to me. And in closing, is there any notable story that you can remember of somebody you've encountered as a police officer later on has come up and something that you've made you feel rewarded over the thankless job that you served for the last 30 years?
I would say, yeah, one comes to mind. And again, I'm the community outreach kind of guy. That's my Twitter handle is Miami Outreach, at Miami Outreach. But I can remember a few years ago, I was actually still walking around, and Robert Morgan was walking around, and I see this middle-aged lady screaming, "Uncle, uncle, uncle," and she was holding, two young children in her hands, and uncle. And I'm turning around, and I'm going, "What is this lady want?" So I walk up to her and I go, "Ma'am, can I help you?" And she goes, "Don't you remember me?" And I'm saying, "No, not really." And she goes, "You were the school resource officer at my middle school. And, you were involved with my family, you knew my mom, my dad, and I called you uncle." And, she had grown, and she aged me there when I realized, oh, wow, this is a middle-aged lady calling me uncle. And so, yeah, that was actually very rewarding that I had made some sort of an impact in this lady. And she introduced me to her kids, and it was a nice little moment there. And, I asked about her mom and dad and her family. And again, that really was very rewarding. Again, it sounds corny, but if you can make a difference in one person's life, we hear that all the time. It makes a difference in your life. So if you make a difference in one person's life, it makes a difference in your life.
There you go. So having said that, I thank everybody for listening. My hearts and condolences goes out to not just the victims of Marjory Stoneman Douglas shooting, but anyone who is a victim of crime, the senseless crime that just continues to plague our community. I think that together we can do a better job. We must do a better job. We owe it to our communities. Having said that, I can't thank everybody enough for being here. To the Millers, Tommy behind the scenes, as always, producing the show. Thank you to Grant and Michael Miller and the team here at the community newspapers. Thank you again. I will look forward to speaking with you in a little bit.